Alright, before you cancel me, put your pitchforks down for a second and hear me out. As you can tell by the title, I've just watched the first episode of the currently airing anime, Kaifuku Jutsushi no Yarinaoshi, or Redo of Healer for any of you closet weebs out there. I've also been completely caught up with the manga adaptation for some time now, and let me tell you something, when I say this shit is more extreme than you can possibly imagine, I'm not fucking joking. But before we get into the sage and onion stuffing of this lovely dish, please hit that subscribe button down below, give that like button a little slap, and touch my notification bell so you don't miss it when I'm chatting shit. Now that that's out of the way, play the intro. Now most of what I'm going to say today will be massive spoilers. I'm drawing everything I know from the manga source, so let that be a fair warning to you. Kyaru is a 14-year-old boy who comes of age to discover that he is adorned with the crest of heroes. This special insignia found on the back of his right hand identifies him as such, and therefore destined to join his fellow heroes in the quest to defeat the Demon King. In an RPG-like setting filled with all kinds of monsters, demons and creatures, all living things have a personal stat block and level cap, which can only be raised by taking in the fluids of a hero. Hold tight on this one, homies. More on that shit later. One day, Princess Flare turns up at Kyaru's village to collect him and take him back to the kingdom of Ziorio, where the city, fortified with magic and weapons, acts as a shield against the impending demon invasion. After having his hero class appraised as a healer, things take a fucking dark turn for our boy Kyaru. It seems that the healer class is heavily looked down upon and seen as basically useless and mostly unnecessary. When the princess has him use his healing powers for the first time, in order to restore the missing arm of a world-class knight, they discover that his powers have a very unfortunate caveat. Horrifically, Kyaru feels all the pain and experiences his target went through, so much in fact that it puts a heavy strain on his mental state. Let's not forget, this is a little fucking kid, and he just felt like he had his arm removed from his innocent little body. It's no wonder that he vows to never use healing again, and begs the princess to not make him do it. Unfortunately for Kyaru, this results in him being treated like absolute shit from that moment on. In fact, that's putting it too lightly. They throw him in jail, lock away the goddamn key, and drug him endlessly until he's nothing more than a drooling mess. Nothing more than a dog barking at Flare's command, healing as and when she tells him to. After 4 years of suffering horrible mistreatment from the hands of his supposed companions, Kyaru secretly develops the skill, resistance to drug. When the party reaches what is essentially the final boss, my man plays it dumb and acts like he's still being roofied. When they eventually beg for his healing powers, the blank look on his face just turns to a maniacal smile, and he simply looks at them and says, "Yeah, nah fam, you can fuck right off." Kyaru loses his absolute shit, ignores his dying companions, and proceeds to fucking annihilate the Demon Lord and her cronies, earning himself an extremely powerful magical crystal. Using the power of this crystal, he swears ultimate vengeance on those who wronged him, and then turns back time. So that's the opening and basic premise of Redo of Healer. Let's talk about a couple of the characters now. Kyaru is entirely hellbent on revenge. The horrible things he was subjected to utterly broke his mind and spirit. He's now completely obsessed with destroying the lives of those who hurt him, and he's more than happy to do it in the most diabolical ways he can think of. 99% of the time this involves the rape and torture of his victims. We'll touch on proportionate retribution later, but for now all I can say is fuck me, this shit is rough. Honestly, it's no wonder he turned out this way. After being imprisoned and drugged out of his damn mind, he is raped multiple times every day. Let's ignore the fact that in his redo he can use that to his advantage, because without fully developing his drug resistance skill yet, he is still thrown in jail and raped every day by the princess's guards for a fucking month. All in order to break their level cap and make them stronger warriors. Let's just take a moment to remember that this poor kid is 14. 14 fucking years old. Jesus Christ, man. That is... I do feel for him in that regard. He's completely batshit insane now. Look at him. Look at those eyes. Are those the eyes of a sane person? Fuck no. Once he's back in the past, Kyaru travels through the woods in order to gain a very important ability from the Spirit of the Stars. The Eye of Truth. This special gift allows him to see the status and potential of all living things. Coupled with his knowledge of combat healing techniques, he uses his abilities to steal experience from others and pop motherfuckers like meat-filled balloons. Flare is the magic hero and easily one of the biggest scumbags in fiction. She gave up on Kyaru the instant she saw his powers and was immediately willing to throw him away and drug him without a second thought. She is rotten to her very core, and I've only got one word for people like that: cunt. Yeah, I said it. She deserves it for fuck's sake. The horrors she put him through, my god, you can't even imagine. She puts up this facade of being a kind and gentle princess, when in reality she's a narcissistic psychopath who effectively enslaved Kiaru and used him like a tool, like he was some kind of fucking first aid kit on 2 legs. Oh, this is making me angry. I need to calm down a bit, Jesus. As the magic hero, Flare is able to wield extremely powerful combat magic, making her a force to be reckoned with. In katakana, her name reads Freya. However, her name is literally supposed to be a pun on the classic RPG spell Flare. As far as I can tell right now, Flare has no redeeming qualities. Well, maybe one. Setsuna is a demi-human of the Ice Wolf tribe who was captured and sold into slavery. Her hate and resentment towards humans is quickly noticed by Kiaru, who sees an opportunity to gain a powerful ally. By reminding her of her weakness, he quickly manipulates her into joining him, with promises of revenge on the humans who attacked her tribe. And of course, they do the nasty and quickly bump uglies in order to break her level cap, as is tradition at this point. Personally, I really like Setsuna. She's a cute little badass who's essentially the team's frontline muscle. Her strong sense of vengeance towards Kingdom Knights doesn't carry on to innocent people, and I can respect that. Alright, let's move on because we can be here all day talking about characters. Let's address some of the themes present in Redo of Healer, the actual meat of the video. Redo of Healer is a story completely centered around the idea of brutal revenge, with a heavy dose of rape as a central plot device. Honestly, the harem element in this show comes second to all of that. In regards to Kiaru's never-ending quest for retribution, most of the time it can be seen as proportionate to the evil he suffered at his target's hands. Not that I totally agree with it, but in the context of storytelling, I get it. It was simultaneously satisfying and horrifying to see him get his revenge on Flare. I completely understand that he felt his actions were justified, especially considering his mental state and the horrible things that led him to this point. Even so, I just can't bring myself to condone sexual violence in any situation. That shit is just woof. Seriously, there's revenge and then there's this. Jesus fucking Christ, guys. He essentially went and made her his sex slave. Oof. But here's the thing. Just when I start to feel bad for this bitch, only slightly mind you, just a smidge, Flare goes and reminds me why she's such a depraved human being. The things she forced him to do and the way she treated him was fucked up, man. She seriously made him eat her drug-infused pussy and then fucking stamped his junk bloody. That's just, I can't... Everyone either beat 2 tons of shit out of this poor motherfucker or raped him. That all being said, there are a few times when I would consider his retribution to be completely disproportionate. He rapes a leopard demi-human assassin for attacking him and ruining a cafe that he's visited only a handful of times. He's developed a psychotic and unrealistic attachment to things that don't even belong to him. Kiaru literally thrives on revenge. He's let the very idea of revenge consume him to the point where he lives to fulfill not only his own, but the revenge of others too. He gets off on it. If anything slights him, no matter how minimal, it triggers his need for vengeance. The Blade Hero is another example. I feel like she got the worst of it so far, man. Don't get me wrong, she is scum just as much as Flare. She broke Kiaru's arm and used to beat him senseless for merely breathing. She used to make him dress up as a girl and tickle his pickle in front of her. What the fuck is that about? She's a grade A certified nutcase. However, what he did to her, Jesus! He has her gang raped by a bunch of huge dudes who are drugged out of their mind on a cannibalistic aphrodisiac. In English, it means that if she can't satisfy their sex drive, they're gonna eat her alive. And of course, no matter what she does and how hard she tries, that is the inevitable result. Honestly, my dudes, it was fucking savage. Kiaru is so far gone and his revenge is so extreme that these moments just feel unsavoury to me and not at all satisfying. He doesn't have a shred of humanity left, as he confirms himself in chapter 14.2. Man's lost it. He continues to descend into madness and he doesn't even see that he's becoming the very thing that he hates. I'm gonna sign off the section with this. The biggest reason for the controversy surrounding Redo of Healer, and the reason why the community don't see eye to eye, is strongly fueled by values dissonance. We're all from different parts of the world. We all have different mindsets, different cultures, and different ways of perceiving things. The author's intention is for us to have a twisted sense of satisfaction from watching Kiaru gain his vengeance by subjecting those targets of his retribution to savage acts of sexual violence. The idea is that the retribution is meant to be seen as proportionate to the things that he was subjected to himself. himself. But that's where values dissonance comes in. For most of us, myself included, sexual violence like rape is just seen as irrevocably evil and wrong. No matter how much I read, I just can't bring myself to align with his actions. I completely understand that his mental state has led him down this path. It's just that sexual violence as a means for revenge is something I really struggle to get behind. I would 100% prefer him to just chop these motherfuckers' heads off and dangle them from a belt. Job done, guv. I gotta say, the manga art is pretty decent. It starts a little rough around the edges, but the artist clearly develops his skills as the chapters go on. I'm actually impressed with most of the later pages, and the action scenes are pretty dope. Visually speaking, I can see why it got picked up for an anime adaptation, regardless of the subject matter. The emotions Kyaru feels when faced with the products of his revenge are actually really well displayed. The art in these moments is fantastic and conveys a real sense of urgency. The story and art get much better around chapter 16. The manga gets much more enjoyable as things develop rapidly and new characters are introduced. The story seems to move slightly away from the constant revenge rape and leans a little more into its plot. Every time the sexual violence makes a return though, I feel like I'm switching from a manga to a fucking hentai doujin. It's just hentai. Sure, the dicks are darkened as a form of censorship, but I can't even show you half the panels in this shit. It's like there's a big fuck off button that says push for porn, and when you slap it, the manga transforms from shield hero into redo of a hentai. Now don't come at me, just listen up. I love hentai, dude. I'm not ashamed to say I've read a lot of hentai in my time. And let me tell you something, homies. The art and paneling during the sex scenes are straight doujin material. It feels like a doujin and should probably just be a doujin. Come on guys, breaking your level cap by getting cream pied? That's a fucking hentai plotline no matter how you swing it. The manga does have some really exciting moments. Going up against strong adversaries like Eagle Eye and Norn genuinely feel like a threat. Things don't always come so easy to Kyaru, and it's during these moments when I feel heavily invested. Should you read or watch Redo of Healer? Honestly, if you have a weak constitution, then the answer's a resounding no, fam. The themes and extreme displays of sexual violence can be really fucking hard to swallow. Watching Kyaru get his revenge is rough sometimes. He seems to have these random moments when it's like he'll redeem himself. There's times when it seems like he genuinely cares about other people, and that he cares for his harem without them being simply tools, but then he just goes and fucks it. Literally. In all seriousness, it's elements like these that are keeping me reading. Regardless of the difficult subject matter, I feel like I've come too far to quit and I'm now committed to seeing it through. The concept of a corrupt empire and humans being the real monsters in this story brings everything together in a point where I feel like there'll be an eventual, satisfying conclusion to the story. Hopefully. So, if any of that sounds interesting to you and you can handle gratuitous amounts of sexual violence and a total revenge-based plotline, I say give it a go. Alright then folks, I've talked enough for one day. This video was meant to serve as both a recommendation and a warning for what's to come. I hope I got my point across, and I hope you got something out of this video too, even if it was just listening to me chatting shit. So that's it then, I'm going. Please subscribe if you want to see more from me chatting bare breeze about anime or manga or something. Laters.